Hi everyone, it's Mari here for the Vicki Boutin design team. I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 scrapbooking layout for you today using this paper from the Fernwood collection. I am going to cut the bottom portion of this paper into strips just using my trimmer here. And then I'm going to use those strips to help me create a photo mat for the photo that I'm going to be using for my project today. So I'm just using my Fiskars trimmer here to cut this into strips. And I really love these papers from Vicki's collections. They're so versatile. You can see that the top half of the paper is all tags, which are really great for layering, for creating mini books, lots of different applications for those tags. And I always really love that Vicki includes a cut apart sheet like this in her collections. It does really allow you to use the paper in so many different ways. So I'm going to show you here today how I'm going to cut this paper, like I said, into strips. And then what I'm going to do is use those strips for my photo mat. So I'll just continue to cut these up. I'm not going to actually use all of these. I wasn't really sure 100% what I was going to use for my color palette for this project. So once I kind of get that established, I decide which of these strips I'm going to use as layers in my photo mat. I'm also going to be using a Tim Holtz stamp set here to help me create some mixed media on my project. This is just a really fun set. I think it's called Brushstrokes or something like that, but I will be sure to link it up in the description box below. And what's really cool about this stamp set is, well, it's red rubber, so it's really easy to use. And what you can do is just take your art crayons from Vicki Boutin and color directly onto that red rubber stamp. I'm just taking my Tim Holtz Distress tool here, the water spritzer. I'm just activating the art crayon with a little bit of that water, spreading it around with my finger, and then I'll just go ahead and apply this to my Vicki Boutin foundations paper for my background for my project. I just have this on an acrylic block, and then you'll just see me apply the pigment onto the paper in that way. And I'm going to create a bunch of colored strips all the way down sort of like the center area of my paper. I'm going to put a little bit of music on for you to watch this process. It's quite repetitive, and I will see you back in a very short while. See you back. So now I'm using one of the stencils from Fernwood. I love this one with the really nice large open circles. And what I'm doing is applying, or I have applied, some art crayon dry through the stencil with the Vicki Boutin stencil brush, so that I just dry brush that on. Now I'm taking another Tim Holtz stamp and I'm just stamping through those little areas of the stencil to create a little bit of stamping. And a lot of this is going to get covered up. Very few of these little bits show. But at this point, I wasn't really sure where everything was going to be on my project. And so I just stamped in random areas. And some of it does show for sure when the layout's finished. And I really like just the idea of using a little bit of stamping to create a little bit of interest in the background of for my project here. So I'm just using some black archival ink, and I do use, again, this is a different Tim Holtz stamp, but I will make sure that I link it up again in the description box. Now, I also wanted to use some of this really pretty iridescent glaze from Vicki Boutin. I love this stuff. It's so pretty. It's the blue that's got kind of like the little hint of gold in it. I'm just using my Vicki Boutin spatula here to add this through one of the Fernwood stencils. It's the one that's kind of got this small floral. And I thought this would just be really pretty if I kind of created a little bit of a diagonal line. And I'm just, starting now to formulate where I think I want to put my photograph. So my photo is going to kind of go sort of in the center of the page, and it's a square photo. And now I've watered down that glaze, and I'm just splattering it with my paintbrush. Just splattering it on here and getting just some really nice small splatters, really fine splatter, which I like the looks of that for sure. And just enjoying the process, having fun, working through the different mediums that I'm using. I've torn an edge off the bottom of the paper, and this is, I believe, probably my favorite paper from Fernwood, which if you know me, you might think that's really uncharacteristic or something. I don't know. Usually maybe I might like a floral or something as my favorite, but this paper is so versatile. There's so many things you can do with this. It's so interesting. I love the colors. I just love this paper so much. I think it's genius. And I wanted to just put a little bit of it at the bottom and a little bit of it at the top. So I tore just a tiny little bit off my foundations paper. I'm being mindful of continuing to make sure that I have a 12 by 12 project when I'm finished. You'll see me add that portion to the top a little bit later in the process. So I'm just using a little bit of this paper here that's got the kind of really pretty sort of like browny black background on the back of it on the B side, and I'm just going to use that to mount my photo, and that's just going to really make my photo pop off of the mixed media background that I've created here. So I am going to rough that up with my distress tool here. You'll just see me using that. You can definitely just use a scissor or your fingernail if you want. You don't have to have the special tool for this. This tool is really handy, I'm not going to lie, but you don't need that for sure. So I'm just going to continue to, really distress that paper. I will pop my photo up on some foam adhesive onto that black paper, and it just really looks like a nice way to just kind of add attention to your photograph. This is a black and white photo of me and my little grandson. His name is Luca, and he is adorable. We love him so much. And he's probably about a week old in this photo here. My daughter had given me a sweatshirt quite a while ago that says grandma on it. So I'm wearing that. You probably can't really see that in the photo, but anyways, that's a photo of me and my sweet little grandson. And I just wanted to scrap this photo. So now you can see where I'm taking those strips and I'm going to staple them together. They have a lot of really fun colors that are going to complement the project. So lots of the teals, the greens, and a brown, which goes nicely with that paper at the bottom of the layout at this point. This is just some old dictionary paper, like an old dictionary from the school that I used to work at. It was one that was in the library. You know those great big dictionaries that are on the stand in a library? This one was really ratched. It was wrecked. And so they gave it to me. And now I use it for mixed media projects. So I just tore off a little bit of that, put that in. I'm going to put that in behind. And now I'm just taking my scissors. I'm trimming these strips off at varying lengths just to make them look a little bit more interesting. And I'll save all of those little scraps of paper for another project later on. This is just some brown packaging. I had this on my desk from a card that I made recently. And I just thought, oh, I'm going to throw some of this in behind because that'll look really neat with that brown paper that's at the bottom. So I'm just adding that in as a layer. It just adds some nice texture and interest to the project. And there's no harm to just grabbing stuff from your, packaging that you get in the mail or whatever. Stick that into a bag in your cupboard and use that for different little projects that you might be working on. I love this clipboard die cut piece. I think that is so fun. It's really great would be really great for journaling on as well, but I wanted to use it as another layer behind my photo. And I'm just going to add some liquid adhesive to the back of that and adhere that on. I will make sure that I use my T-square ruler to make sure that this is all really super straight. This is a really fun little die cut piece from the ephemera. I'm going to use that kind of as a little bit of almost like a little horizontal grounding piece at the bottom of the photo mat area. I also wanted to use some of these ferns. I am going to fussy cut a couple of these from the bottom of this paper. It makes me sad to do this kind of because the other side's that ledger paper, which I really love. But I also really love fussy cutting these ferns. But I have used one entire sheet of this for fussy cutting ferns already. So now I'm working on my second one. I'm just going to fussy cut 3 of those ferns, and you can see how I'm going to use them just as a nice other little sort of way to embellish the photo area. And I'm just using a little bit of adhesive here to get everything in place. Just using some liquid adhesive that's archival and just going ahead and finishing that up and getting these in there. I just wanted 3. I didn't feel like I needed any more than 3 pieces of these ferns. That one piece I'm using a little bit of foam adhesive on as well. This one I'm actually going to lift up and put over top there, using a little bit of foam adhesive to give it a little bit more dimension as well. And this is just a little die cut piece with a little phrase on it that I wanted to use above the photo. I've got a little bit of foam adhesive on that to adhere that down to that area above the photo. And now I am going to go ahead and add that brown paper to the top. Again, just using my ruler, like I said, just to make sure that my layout is going to be 12 by 12. So I'll just get that adhered down and in place at the top. And I am going to do a little bit of sewing on the white edge of the foundation's paper at the top and bottom too, some wonky stitching just to finish that off. I love this chipboard piece that says something positive. And I'm just journaling here about how there's so much bad news these days. The news is so depressing. And we're just trying to really focus on the positive, which is pretty easy to do with this little guy. So I'm just journaling about that. I'm just showing you where I'm going to put the journaling strips down below. And now I've added those with a little bit of foam adhesive. I've added that little fussy cut vellum dragonfly as well with a little bit of foam adhesive. And now I'm going to finish off the layout with a little bit of splatter with my Dina Wakley gloss spray, which I had to just order another bottle of this because I use it so much. I just love it. It's white, opaque. It dries fast. It dries dimensional. It's a really, really good product. And this is available from Ranger in a bunch of different colors. So if you really like it when you try it, it's fantastic stuff. It's a really good product. So I'm just going to use my paintbrush here to help me get that splattered onto my project. And just going to go in again for another little bit of that and get that applied. And I really love how that looks when it's all finished. I think it just adds some life to things when you add that white splatter. It just kind of brings everything alive and just finishes it off nicely. Gives everything that nice cohesive splatter. I felt like there needed to be something down in the corner on the left of the photo corner, bottom left corner. So I'm going to use this little floral. This is from the cardstock sticker sheet. I love that. It's just nice and neutral and it just finishes that little area off. And I'm going to add Some of these little gold chipboard circles from the chipboard sheet. I know I've said this before, but I could just have 10,000 of these little gold chipboard circles. And I think it's genius how Vicki fills like every tiny little space of her chipboard sheets with something, right? It's the same as her puffy sticker sheets, her phrase sheets. She fills every little area on those stickers sheets with something, some little embellishment that you can use in some spot. So I really love that. I love the mixed media on this project. I love working with Vicki's mixed media. It's just a dream. It's something that I really enjoy in scrapbooking and card making. I love to art journal. And so using these different techniques in scrapbooking is just a natural thing for me to do. And I hope that this inspires you to try mixed media if you haven't yet. And if you haven't watched Vicki on her Friday Night Lives in the Facebook community, in the Vicki Boutin Facebook community, you definitely need to do that because there's like at least 3 years, I think, of inspirational videos showing you how to use all of her products, and her products are the best. So really enjoy it. I'm showing you the dimension on the layout, and that's going to finish this off for me. Thanks for joining me today, friends. I will see you next week, and take care. Stay safe, stay well. Do something happy, do something that makes your life feel positive, and stay well. See you soon. Bye-bye.